Shalom Aleichem Internet. My name is Rabbi Sender Gajzinski, and here is the weekly TorahByte. This week's Torah portion is Parshat Chayei Sarah, the life of Sarah, and it begins Vayiyu Chayei Sarah me'ah shana v'esrim shana v'sheva shanim shnei Chayei Sarah. So are the years of the life of Sarah, our matriarch, wife of Abraham, who lived 100 years and 20 years and 7 years. So were the years of the life of Sarah. Now, obviously, it is very interesting the way that Torah depicts the years over here. It could have just said 127 years. So the Talmud tells us that this unique way of laying out the years of Sarah is actually eulogizing her. It is speaking to her greatness. That at 100 years old, she was as if 20 when it came to sin. And at 20 years old, she was as if 7 when it came to beauty. Now, that first numerical comparison makes a lot of sense. We're trying to speak to her greatness, and so we are speaking to how little she had in the way of sin and how great of a spiritual person she was. But the second statement about at 20 being like 7 when it came to beauty, is that really a focus of the Torah? Is physical beauty something that is that important? Doesn't King Solomon say in the famous Eshet Chayil, Sheker achein vehevel hayofi, that beauty is not, etc., that it is not a focus, that it's only surface, and it is a distraction from what is really important. And yet here we seem to be placing a very large premium on Sarah's beauty. And the fact is, it's not the only time that the Torah does this. When the Torah lays out its most beautiful eulogy of perhaps what many might consider the greatest man who ever lived, Moses, at the very end of the final portion in the Torah, it tells us that Moshe, at 120 years old, that he still retained his physical vigor from his youth, and it did not disappear. He did not deteriorate in that fashion. He didn't dry up with old age. So again, we seem to make this focus on the physiology and the physicality, the materialism of these great individuals, when we should be focused at this moment of eulogizing them on their great spiritual persona, etc. The answer of that comes down to what in fact makes up a human being. We are made up of two parts, our internal core and our external shell. We are a soul within a body, and the soul and the body are very, very different. Our external shell, our body, has a time limit. It is here in this material world, and it is subject to the vicissitudes of this material world. It is deteriorating over time. In fact, the Talmud says that from the moment somebody is born, they begin to deteriorate eventually to their passing. And yet the soul is timeless. It's eternal. It existed before the person is born. It will continue to exist after the person passes. And so the soul and the body fusing to create our corporeal life is actually a great moment. It is a wonder, as we say each time we say the Asher Yatzar blessing, that the perfect fusion of the body and soul is really, truly one of the greatest wonders that God performs. Having said that, generally, our body and our soul are affected differently in regards to what happens in the world. While our body is deteriorating over time, our soul does not deteriorate in that fashion. But the fact that our soul is timeless generally does not have that much of effect on our body. Our body continues to deteriorate, although our soul is, in a sense, eternal and timeless. Unless you're somebody on the caliber of Sarah, of our matriarch. Her soul was so present, and it was so manifest in her life, it was so impactful that it actually affected her physical physiology to the point where the timelessness of the soul brought about a change to her body, and her body adopted some of that timelessness, and her youth stayed with her. She did not deteriorate in the same fashion. So Sarah actually discovered the physical fountain of youth. And it was actually within her. It was her soul. Fascinating. Now, what is the lesson for me? Obviously, it takes people on the caliber of Moshe and Sarah to have their soul so manifest in their lives that it actually affects their physicality, their physiology. Can the same be counted for me? The answer is no. So what am I supposed to draw from this lesson? The answer is because we are individuals made up of a body and a soul, and we also straddle two worlds simultaneously. We straddle the spiritual world, where we're expected to do wonderful things and keep an altruistic mindset, focus on what is above and what it is that God wants from me. At the same time, we're meant to interact with the physical world, to be in this world, and in fact, to bring the spirituality of my spiritual core into the physical world around me. And yet there is this constant tension, there's this constant war, because at the same time that I'm trying to influence the world around me with my spiritual core, the world is vice versa trying to influence me. And so we have this battle. And how does one succeed in this battle? How does one make sure that the world around them does not have a corrupting effect on them? And so there are three different solutions. Solution number one is that you strategize, you make an effort, you give yourself an extremely strong defense, and build up your spiritual fortitude so that the world does not affect you in any real corrupting way. The other way is to put yourself on an island of spirituality, to disengage as much as possible from the physical world so that it does not corrupt you, and in a sense to become a hermit. And then there's a third way in which you beam out your spirituality so powerfully that you're not on the defense, you're rather on the offense. Wherever you go, that your soul is affecting your physical exterior, not just your body, but your entire surroundings. To take this message from Sarah, who drew from within herself to the point where her physical exterior was affected by her spiritual interior, so too we can draw from our spiritual core to affect our surroundings, so that we are on the offense, not on the defense. That we are not concerned about protecting our spiritual core, we are more focused on affecting the physical world around us. It is apropos because this Shabbat is the grand conference of Chabad emissaries from around the world. When the Rebbe began his counterintuitive experiment of sending young couples from, in a sense, the protected environment of the Chabad community in Israel and in Crown Heights, and sending them out alone into the physical, materialistic world around them. Many people said, how are you going to be sure that they will be able to stand up to the outside influences? And the Rebbe's answer wasn't because I gave them a strategy on how to stand strong, or I told them to protect themselves and create an island of spirituality around themselves. The Rebbe's answer was, if you are too busy exporting spirituality, then you are less likely to import physical and materialistic influences. That if you're too busy having your soul beam outward, then you do not have to be so concerned about the what is coming in from outside. This is a message to each and every one of us. If we want to be able to go there and withstand the vicissitudes of life and to really have an effect on our surroundings, the effort should not be going from the outside in, rather, but from the inside out. We can all think about what that means in our lives. Wishing you a Shabbat Shalom and all the very best.